Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
The name's the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves to make it so. It's Frank. How are you today?
I am here, and I am ready to engage.
Nice. I could have made a ball joke. I didn't.
That was very kind of you.
I avoided it, mostly because I didn't think about it until after I said make it so I thought I should just talk about it now.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. That's good. You know, just that way you kind of best of both worlds, right?
Exactly.
You can sort of
Exactly. So, Frank, we are here in the podcast studio that is our homes
Yes.
to discuss what beers we're drinking first. So what beer are you having on Beer with Geeks today?
I am having a Jack's Abbey Ray Catcher Lemongrass Lager.
Oh, that's what? That sounds amazing.
It's fantastic. I really, really love. This is one of my favorite beers I've had in a long time.
The lemongrass.
It is lemongrass. It is so like. Honestly, it gives me sort of a porch rocker sort of vibe with the or no, I'm sorry. Wait, is it porch rocker? No, which one is the Sam Adams that's lemony?
Cold Snap is a little lemony, but Porch Rocker's lemony.
Porch Rocker, yeah, it is Porch Rocker. So it's crisp. It's got lemon flavor to it. It's a nice like citrusy crisp. Not hoppy at all, but very refreshing. So like super sessionable. And a very summery beer. I think I'm gonna be, if I can keep finding these, I'm gonna be drinking a lot of these this summer.
Yeah, they sell Jack's Abbey where I am too, so I think I'm gonna be finding some of those. The Ray.
Yes,
Catcher.
if you find them, pick them up. Yeah, they have pretty decent distribution in the Northeast. I think they're based out of upstate New York. So yeah. Oh no, they're in Framingham, Mass.
Oh,
why did I think they were in New York?
I don't know.
Okay, so but there you go. Yeah, they're in the Northeast. So, yeah, if you can find it, definitely get your hands on some. What are you drinking?
I am drinking kind of a special beer, not pertaining to this episode, but it was given to me, and there's a cool story, so I'm going to talk about it.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm drinking the Hoppily Ever After from Smug Brewing, which is this is a New England India Pale Ale, but Smug Brewing is in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. But here is the fun part: this was a wedding favor for a wedding. This is what everybody got.
That's so cool.
Because the people who got married knew the people who run Smug Brewing. I think they were in the wedding party or something, maybe the best man. So they made a special beer just for the wedding.
That's so cool. I love that.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, so actually I don't know these people, so I'm going to read the description
sure.
and all. This was given to me by my friend David, who has been on the show before. He's the cinematographer out in L.A.
Nice, yeah.
And so he does not drink beer. So he was home in the area last week, and he was like, "Here, I got you this beer." So anyway, wedding season it's wedding season, and it's approaching quickly. Our dear friends Darren and Caitlin are getting married, and they wanted everyone to celebrate with them. What better way to commemorate their joyful event than with a New England IPA, brewed with several different hop varieties, making for a very juicy beer, like a perfect marriage. All the ingredients came together to make something extraordinary. When you pop this can, Make sure to wish a lifetime of happiness to Darren and Caitlin and all the other couples getting married this wedding season. Cheers. Water, malt, hops, yeast.
Nice.
Yeah. So, to Darren and Caitlin.
To Darren and Caitlin. Nice.
Oh, that's good. And you know me and the IPAs, Frank, but
I
this
do.
is
Yeah.
This is really good. This is
nice.
It's got a bit of the hop,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more. It tastes more like a summer ale than a
Interesting.
Yeah, than an India Pale Ale. It's not. It's or a New England India Pale Ale. It's not particularly dry. It's smooth. It's kind of got like an orange lemon kind of zest to it.
Ooh, nice.
This is really good. I would buy this forever. This is great.
You'd buy it Hoppily Ever After?
I would. I'm happily ever after with this beer. I can tell you
Nice.
that. Wow, that's good. Yeah. Anyway, so
what a cool idea to have a custom brew for a wedding. I've always thought it'd be. My wife had this fun idea a few years ago of what if you had how there's all these barns that are wedding venues full like year round, that's sort of just what they do. What if there was a brewery that had a barn that had facilities to have weddings on the premises, and what if part of the package was the bride and groom can come 3 months before and brew their own beer for their wedding, or take part in brewing a beer for their wedding that then ages for 3 months, and then on the wedding day it gets opened.
That
and served
would
for the
be
wedding
awesome.
guests. Wouldn't that be cool?
yes, I wish that we could do that as a.
I know,
thing.
right?
I had lack the ability.
One day when we have the Beer with Geeks complex, the Beer with Geeks brewing company,
Yes,
we will do that.
we could do
We'll
that.
do that, and you can, for all kinds of events, all kinds of parties, you can come in advance, brew your beer for the event, and
Well, just keep playing the Powerball, Frank. I don't know what else to
yeah,
tell
that's
ya.
the plan. We'll see.
Yeah, one day I'll play. Every day I drive by the sign, on the way home, there's a big lottery sign, this is how much it's worth. And every day I'm like, I should play. Never do. Not a once. But I'm going to win one day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. The one day you decide to play, that's when you'll win.
That's it. I actually know somebody who the one day they didn't play, their numbers got pulled. And it wasn't the whole thing, but it was a significant amount.
Enough that they would have won something.
Yeah. It was literally the guy played every day, and it was the one day he's like, nah.
That's so tough.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oof.
Yeah.
Well, that's
it's a spicy meatball, Frank, is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, Frank, I have been on a continued Star Trek binge on Paramount Plus.
You really have.
Yes.
You've been putting in the hours.
Yeah, and so I did for the past 2 months or so. I or a month. I did the 4 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, and under your behest, I would say,
Yeah.
I went back and redid season 1 of Picard, which I liked but wasn't totally into, and I dropped off halfway through. And then I did season 2 of Picard. And so we are here to talk about both seasons and how I feel about them as people. So, Frank, what are your thoughts on Picard first before I divulge mine?
I rather enjoyed season 1. It wasn't perfect, but I did really like it. It was very exciting and very fun. But not a perfectly crafted season. Season 2 got off to a very exciting start that I absolutely loved where it was heading at the beginning. And it kind of lost some momentum later in the season for me, but still was overall quite good. So it gets overall I give Picard sort of like a B average. It's good. It's not perfect. It could be better, but it's quite good and definitely worth watching if you enjoy the Next Generation era Star Trek at all. What were your thoughts?
Well, I I don't want to say I powered through season 1, but like when it's definitely not perfect, like you said. Like I found some of it quite engaging, and then other parts of it like not particularly engaging at all. And I think part of my problem personally was that I was trying to decipher what's Next Generation and what's original to Picard. And I was like trying really hard to be like, what are they like referencing? What are they pulling from? What are they?
Should I know the Kawat Malat? Should I know?
Yes,
like,
exactly. Yeah. What should I know that like I was sad to say that like it took me half the season to be like, oh, they're on a Borg cube, like like that's little things like that. Like, but then like, oh, but where are they? And like that took some time for me to adjust to. So season 2, so overall I liked season 1. I'm glad that I went back and watched it because I grew attached to a good number of the characters.
Sure.
And
any standouts?
I really like Raffi.
Yeah.
I like Chris.
I love him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I like Picard.
Of course.
But you like Raffi, depending on because people say your name differently.
Yeah.
I like 7 of 9 a lot. I mean,
I got super excited when 7 showed up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even watch Voyager, and I knew who she was.
Sure,
so that's like great when you're like you transcend.
Yes,
the whole like the product that you're in.
Exactly.
But then I got confused because he knew her, and so I was like, "Wait, does
that add up?"
Yeah, like, am I supposed to know that he knows who she is? And like, but that's where I got confused, and that's about where I dropped off. I don't love the samurai Romulan whose name escapes me. Elnor. He's just kind of he's not a wet noodle. That's not really the right way to describe him.
Yeah,
but...
I know what you mean, though. Yeah, Elnor's. I could sort of take him or leave him, to be honest.
Yeah, and I like Girardi, but it took until the second season for me to get there. And I really like Allison Pill, so like me going along with her in the first season was more because I liked Allison Pill. But
sure.
But I really liked her in the second season. But then, there's the spoilers for Picard here on out. But I Data's daughter, whose name escapes me in the first season.
Yes. Oh shoot! Yeah,
yes,
it's
her.
escaping me as well.
Yes.
Her, yes. I don't want to use my one lookup because I feel like I'm going to need it later in the episode.
Yes, me too. I found the first version of her engaging in the pilot of Picard.
Yep.
And then she got blown up, and then I didn't find her sister quite as engaging at all. It took like kind of almost the whole rest of the season for me to start driving with her. And so so when I wrapped the season, I was like, okay, the special Romulan boy is turning sides. That's fine. You don't feel important enough for me to know your name. Like things like that. Like it just didn't feel like all of it gelled. But I enjoyed kind of watching Picard be Picard, do his thing. Like I didn't love that he had fallen out with the Federation. That there was like this it felt too like it's of our time. We don't trust authority and the establishment.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not the point of Star Trek. The point is that like we've gotten past that, and we're better than that now.
Yeah. The utopian aspect of it.
Yeah. And so I like the threat coming from the outside instead, because at least like we've got our stuff together that like we can conquer. Like we've conquered ourselves, and so now let's like bring peace or whatever. I'm trying to make it sound not colonialism, because like Star Trek goes a long way to really not be colonialism, like because it really could be.
It could be
super easily, but
But that's why you have things like the Prime Directive, right? Like
correct.
to prevent that. Yeah,
exactly. So so I enjoyed the first season. There are definitely like some bits, like I liked seeing Riker again and Troya, and like to me I was like, were they a thing in the show? I didn't even remember that. So like they're like married with a kid, and I'm like, was that a thing? I definitely missed that. but if I didn't, then I like it. That's fun.
I think they got married in one of the movies, in one of the later Next Generation movies.
Did get married in one of the movies.
Yeah,
that's right. Because I know the movies better than I know the show. So
sure.
Yeah. So that's okay. But so yeah, season 1 was fine. I probably will never go back and rewatch it.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
But I enjoyed it. But I enjoyed the hell out of season 2. Like, you're right. It starts so strong, and it just, I would say it does kind of lose momentum, but only in the way that the crew is maybe separated for too long.
Yes.
And so, like, you kind of, like, there's, like, a little too much going on with the Borg Queen and Q and the change timeline and this and this and this and this. And they, like, in some ways, like, felt like they were going in an episodic route at one point and then decided not to by the next episode. And so there was a little inconsistency there as well.
I agree. There were, I think, a few too many threads happening at once. That was a criticism I was hearing a lot throughout season 2 from several blogs and podcasts, mostly podcasts that I was listening to, saying, like, it seems like we don't get a ton of time with each character in each episode. There were some episodes where it was like you get like a couple of minutes of Seven and Raffi, and that was it, like, for their storyline for that episode. And that, I mean, you probably feel that more watching it week to week rather than binging it.
Yeah, I did not feel that at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that was just to say, like, that was a commonly felt sentiment, what you're saying, that it feels like there's too many storylines and kind of trying to do too much at once. I was really excited at the beginning of the season with the diverging timeline and slingshotting around the sun and all this stuff. Was really exciting to me because it was like we had sort of callbacks to Star Trek 4 with the time travel, and even with, like, on the bus with the punk guy on the bus with the boombox. It was the same actor from
really?
Star Trek 4.
That's
yes,
awesome.
And the song he was listening to, I guess in the original, in Star Trek 4, the song is like I hate you or something like that. And in this, it was like I still hate you.
That's good.
And it was the same actor. So anyway, things like that were really fun sort of callbacks to classic Trek stuff. And of course we had Whoopi Goldberg came back.
Yeah, that felt
as Guinan.
That felt very special to me because I love their relationship, and so it took me longer than I care to admit that there's the younger Guinan in the show.
Yeah.
Like, obviously he's like spending some time with her, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, it's supposed to be Whoopi. All right, I got it now.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have eyebrows. How did I not connect that sooner? And once I actually figured that out, I was watching her like be young Guinan and young Whoopi, and I was like, she's doing a great job. Like, she's doing a really solid job. But like with the Divergent timeline, like, I thought they would spend more time in like this dystopian, like, confederation, like, world, and and then they were like, and we're done with that. But now we're just in regular, like, Los Angeles, and we're just gonna, and now it's Picard's ancestor, and I was like, that's like, it took a weird swerve away from what I thought Q was doing in the first place. So, but I forgot how good of an antagonist he is. Actually,
he is excellent. But my problem with that is I didn't feel like I got enough of him, and he wasn't sort of central enough. Right, he was at the beginning, and then he sort of petered out for the middle of the season and came back at the end.
Yep, I felt that too, because then it became Dr. Suna, Sung, which was great. That like they like Brett Spiner's back, but like being the younger version of himself that we saw in season 1, and he doesn't have to put on the makeup and whatever else, and that was cool. And then he's doing this thing like genetic whatevers with his daughter, and. Right, and spoilers for 2, like we see that kind of is going to step into Project Con.
Right.
Yeah, which I thought was very cool. That's a nice like bridge attachment all the way, and
very cool. And I will point out that episode, the finale of Picard, was released the same day as the premiere of Strange New Worlds, in which we have a Khan descendant,
yes,
who's on the crew of the Enterprise, the same day that we saw the Project Khan folder there on the desk. So like, if you're watching these on the day they're released, which I did, it was very much like, oh my God, there's so much Khan happening here. Like, there's got to be I got to think there's going to be a link from one series to the other.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That's what made me like watching those. I literally watched those 2 episodes back to back, and it made me wonder if there's going to be, if this is a coordinated effort, or it might not be, but either way, very cool to have that much callback to that.
That is cool. I did not think about a connection that way. But to go, I do have a question about Project Con. Is that what it's called, like initially in the like? Because Khan was just one of many of the genetically modified people.
He was, and he tried to like take over the Earth, like rule the world.
Yeah, that I know, but like, why is it named after him? Because although this takes place in 23 something, right? Is that the right?
Yeah. No, further in. No, yeah. 2300. Yes. I think it's like the 2300s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
So then, the other question would be, when isn't Project Con like in the 1990s or something like that? Or it's like when they with that genetic uprising, isn't that's when that's supposed to take place?
It was. So
then Project Con is named actually after.
And after Khan, yeah, I don't.
Because Doctor, what is it? Soong? Doctor
Soong.
Doctor Soong is then not the like they didn't retroactively go back and change things. They didn't retcon like the creator of that project. Like it's something to actually do with Khan himself, right?
You're raising very good questions that I don't know the answers to. I'm a little bit out of my depth.
I feel like it's time to use a one lookup, Frank.
Yeah, see, this is what we save the lookups for. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Khan Noonien Singh.
So I guess when did Khan Noonien Singh try to take over the world? / when does the most of the second season of Picard take place? The stuff in the past.
Right. So according to Space Seed, which is the episode that Khan premieres in, it said that he's a product of the eugenics wars of the 1990s, 1996.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Yep. So, and they in this season they came back in time to. It's only like supposed to be a few years in the future from now. It's like the 2030s or something,
correct.
Right?
Yep.
So, which with the Picard's ancestor who is supposed to go on the Europa mission and all that stuff. So it should have happened already, but
okay. So so that means that so it's either. They didn't exactly fix the timeline,
right?
Or that, which it would actually make more sense that we have not seen the last of Dr. Soong, and that there's some kind of genetic con happening here, and that's what we're going to get for season 3 because they filmed 2 and 3 back to back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so obviously
they did.
Like, there's a plan there. Because they filmed them back to back, so they were written.
Yes.
So, so that is obviously not the last we've seen of him, and I guess it is teasing what season 3 is about, and that's more. Truthfully, that's more interesting than him being like, I'm also the creator of Khan. Like, does he get does he make his daughters from like the stuff learned through like the eugenics wars and stuff like that?
So the showrunners, and this is I'm remembering this now. The showrunner did explain that so the eugenics wars have not happened in this timeline. And the answer, they don't have a firm answer, but one of the things that they throw, this is from a tweet, so like from folks working on the show, like, did you, someone asked them, did you discuss in the writer's room whether or not the eugenics wars took place? And it looks like they decided that, what if maybe the history of that time period is actually sketchy because records weren't kept super well? Maybe Spock was wrong about the time frame. They're not being super. They're being a little cagey about it.
Interesting. So it sounds
but
like
the bottom line is the eugenics wars seem to have not happened.
I see. Okay, so if that's the case, then it's either so if it's sketchy history, then they're retconning when the eugenics wars or eugenics war, I guess, actually takes place. And maybe that's what season 3 of Picard is.
Maybe, yeah.
Interesting,
yeah. So there's a little retconning going on, and they haven't. I think it sounds like they haven't quite decided the reason why or how they're going to explain it,
or they can't because it's a major plot point in season 3, and they don't want to give they don't want to give their hand away.
Yeah, perhaps that very well could be. I sort of had hoped that we would see this season 2, like they would do the whole slingshotting around the sun, go back, fix the timeline, and then we would get to see them go back, and see if they fixed it or not.
Yep.
And it didn't quite play out, exactly that way. I did think it was Alison Pill was absolutely like a revelation in this season.
She was great.
Like,
her
acting was. Oh, Girardi was incredible.
I truthfully loved this idea of her loneliness and the Borg Queen, like, exploiting that, being like, you can become one of many, right? You will never be lonely. And I thought that was really cool because the Borg are such a force, like, on, in Star Trek's past, like previous things that we've seen. And I just really enjoyed the amount of time that we spent getting to learn the way she thinks, and she's not just like evil for the sake of being evil, I guess, there's, and I actually really like Girardi being the Borg Queen at the end. I didn't think, it's funny because when she shows up in the first episode with the mask on, I was like, what a cool look. Don't know why they're doing that. Don't care. And I kind of forgot about it. So by the time it looped back, I was like, "Oh man, what like that? You done tricked me."
They did, yeah. It was really, really cool.
Yeah,
to see that come full circle. Yeah,
I did read a while back that Pill is not coming back for season 3, and so I did kind of feel like they left. Not that it was hanging necessarily, like the Borg are like we have, like. We're kind of in the Federation to to be watchers on the wall, basically, and I guess that's kind of where that story ends, and everyone's just gonna be like, Girardi's Borg now. She's fine.
I'm sure they'll pick it up, maybe in another series, or I don't know, but I feel like we may have come to a place with the Borg, like sort of taking a step back from Picard, just looking at the whole Star Trek franchise.
Yep.
There was a time when the big bad of the Star Trek franchise was the Klingons.
Yep.
And in the original series, they were
I see where you're going with
were the big guy, the big bad, right? And by Next Generation, we have Worf, and it's this idea that progress keeps happening, and eventually a peace is struck with the Klingons, and now they're part of the Federation. And I think we may be reaching the time where like the Borg have been part of the canon for 30 years or something.
Yep.
And so that's half the time that this franchise has been around. It may be time to come up with something new, and maybe this is how we bring the Borg into the fold, even just slightly, and eventually a new threat will surface.
I love that. That's a wonderful way to look at it. Like you've moved from, you've moved on from the Klingons, and they're part, like you said, they're part of it, and that you kind of like. Each progressive show wraps that, and so so you have your original series and that Klingon being the threat wraps in Next Generation through Worf, and then so like Picard, like you have the Borg, and then Picard wraps that for the Borg.
Right.
That's
right.
great. I love that.
I think that's how you keep it fresh, right? Like you gotta have an evolution, and as we move forward in this timeline, like it just makes sense that if this is if the Federation is an effective thing, that you're gonna get to a place where that's what happens.
Yeah.
That more and more of these cultures come together.
This is crossing into a different show, but do the Gorn ever like also get into the Federation at any point? Because I just watched the Strange New Worlds episode with the Gorn ships, and like how they're the enemy, they're the outside, they're this, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, so like what, like where do we see that happen for them too?
I don't know. I do know that the Gorn show up in the original series.
Yeah.
That's the famous
fight with the big lizard man. Oh yes, I love
big
that
green lizard man that
that
Kirk
episode.
fights. Yeah. But I don't remember offhand what happens to them after, in the future.
So I actually did look it up a little bit when I was watching Strange New Worlds.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't like they like you kind of see like a skeleton in a museum and like things like that, but it doesn't really being like, and now everyone loves them.
Sure.
So
interesting.
I skimmed, but I like your theory that like you show progress through the next show or something like that, and so I would love for like season 5 of Discovery to have like
a Gorn crew member,
a Gorn crew member. Like that would be great.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
7 of 9 and Raffi being a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I felt about it exactly, because I don't know. Like, I don't know enough of 7 of 9 to like of her character history, her sexuality, whatever. To like, whatever. But I wasn't sure if like their relationship is like, are you finding comfort in one another? Is this Star Trek being like we talked about on another show? Like, is this Star Trek being like it's progress for the sake of progress, or are you using it as a? I didn't know. That's why I didn't know exactly how to feel about it. I don't dislike
sure.
it. Like,
same.
But I just I wasn't sure if it like spat in the face of things that came before, like what the nature of their relationship actually is.
Sure. I don't think that it breaks any sort of continuity or creates, questions about like, wait, that doesn't jive with something else we know about 7. I don't believe it does. And in a larger sense, I think I was a little surprised by it, but looking back, like it was, I think a lot of queer Star Trek fans were sort of beating that drum the whole season, and we're like, is this going to happen? Is this really happening? Oh my God, it's happening.
Good. Okay, that's good. I knew it was happening because my father-in-law watched season 2 way before me, and he told me. So I was kind of like watching their relationship.
Interesting.
For it.
Okay.
And I think it's there. I don't know if it's like so. It's not like Chris and Teresa. Like that one is like teleplayed all the way from the beginning. You kind of
in your face. Yeah,
you know exactly where it's going. And that's wonderful for him, and I actually real bummed in some ways because I loved him, especially in season 2.
Same.
But I'm happy for him as a character. But it wasn't Raffi and 7. It wasn't played that way, and that's where it didn't feel like this didn't feel romantic. It felt
right.
Like there was like a kinship, but not but not a romance, and so
that's why I didn't pick up on it either. Like I felt like they were like partners, like
yes, exactly,
like cops who are partners almost, like
That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, that's how I was reading it for most of the season until they started being a little bit more explicit with like that this is where we're going with this. So I was like, oh, that's where we're going. But I guess there were a lot of fans online who were sort of like rooting for it to happen all season, and then they got to have that celebrate at the end when like the thing they'd been rooting for all along finally came
that's
to
wonderful.
be.
Sometimes that is a really nice when you're just like, is this
Oh,
happening?
yeah.
Is this happening? Am I reading into this too much? I didn't read into it too much. It was real.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's good. I'm glad. Okay. What about Picard and the Romulan woman? I can't remember her name.
Oh, Laris.
Laris. Yeah, because Talon is the
Talon
watcher.
is her. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was ultimately sort of pointless.
Yep, I thought so too. It just felt like, I mean, like his diving into his own past and starting, healing old wounds and things about his mom and everything like that stuff was good. I have no problem with any of that. But I even do like the idea of like you don't have to be alone, but it like also weirdly sends this message that like it's not okay to be alone. Like why can't Picard just be a bachelor?
Right. What's wrong with that?
Right. And like truthfully, like he's in his 90s.
Yeah.
Like I know it's the 22nd or 23rd century or whatever, 24th century, but he's in his 90s. And like an automaton now or something that no one can quite explain.
Yeah.
So like I just sure.
I read it as sort of kind of like how in virtual, so many of the films and stuff you see that like Kirk has a new love interest or whatever, like in Star Trek 4 when he takes up with the woman in San Francisco, like it's always like the captain has to have this like a will they won't they attraction with someone, and ultimately nothing happens with it.
It's true. I feel like, but that style's a product of the time to which those movies were made.
So I agree, and that's I feel like they were sort of, I don't know, they're still doing that at this end. And with that said, I'm frustrated with it a little bit because it was sort of pointless. It felt like a vintage or legacy thing that we don't need to be doing anymore. And more importantly, I am still shipping Picard and Beverly Crusher. So, I don't know. Maybe season 3. Fingers crossed.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Speaking of Crusher, it was very cool to see Wesley Crusher come back. I don't know what happened to him in the show because I've never seen all of Next Gen.
He left the show to go be a Watcher.
That's awesome.
So they came full circle with it.
Okay, so I didn't even know Watchers were like a thing before this show. So like they did they did a very good job at explaining it because Although I mean, as a Marvel fan, I'm like, yes, a Watcher, I understand.
Sure, sure, yes, exactly. My mind actually went to the same place. It was like, okay, yeah, I get this. I get the shorthand.
You are quite literally the same thing. I understand.
Yeah. And there is even an original series episode that has, they didn't call them Watchers, they called them, I think, supervisors or something, but by all accounts, it seems like they're the same thing.
They were workshopping a different name at the time. It's fine.
Right. So a lot of people this season were like, oh, this seems like the Gary 7 episode of TOS. So, yeah.
That's interesting. I remember before Picard season 2 wrapped, it was announced that season 3 was coming, and like literally like everybody from Next Gen was coming back.
Right.
And then and except for Will Wheaton.
And
people were like, what the hell? Like, where is he? And then, like, an episode later, he's like, here I am.
Yeah.
The Watcher. Like, still doing a thing. So I wonder if we'll see him again. Like, they didn't announce it because they didn't want to give away that.
Perhaps. Yeah, I hope so. I would love to see him with the rest of the I mean, if it doesn't happen, at least we got him in this. But I really hope we get to see him interact with the rest of the cast.
I think truly what it comes down to is don't make the mistake that the Star Wars sequels made and like just put them all in a room together.
Yeah.
Like they could be drinking tea for all I care. Like
sure, or maybe they're at, I don't know, Picard and Beverly Crusher's wedding. Whatever. I don't care.
You ship that hard. Yeah. Don't tell Laris. Like
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be a like Ross and Emily and Rachel thing, whereas like I Jean-Luc take you Beverly, Laris Laris.
Talon. Laris. Oh, God.
Oh, no. I'm old. I'm an automaton. Don't listen to me. Oh, man. It's good stuff. It's good.
It is.
I enjoyed it very much. It doesn't necessarily like feel like Star Trek apart from like its cast is, like I recognize a lot of the cast. They wear the uniforms and stuff like that. But that's the nature. One, I think it's the long form storytelling. And it's the nature of the show they're telling. So like the hope and optimism is there, especially in season 2, way more than season 1. And even stuff that you pointed out with the Borg, like, made it even more so.
Sure.
And the time travel and, like, the situations they get into. And, like, even in season 1 where he's like, I'm wearing an eye patch. I'm like, classic Star Trek. Classic. Like,
classic.
Yeah, you wear dumb outfits. Classic Star Trek.
Love it. Yeah.
But, it just... Yeah, it feels like it takes place in that universe. Like, I do feel like it is so, like, real and authentic to that. And, like, maybe because sometimes Star Trek feels so inauthentic. Like, you could tell that it's staged. And so, but I think is the product of its 2 most famous pieces, being of the 60s and the 80s.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I agree with that. Yeah, the stuff on like the La Sirena feels very Star Trek, and season 2 really, it has very Star Trek-y bookends, but it's sort of the middle doesn't feel very Star Trek-y for like a good chunk of the middle of the season. I feel like I wouldn't feel that way if I binged it though. I feel like I would. I felt the length of it more because I watched it week to week, but I feel like if I binged it, I would definitely not feel that way, I think.
It feels like it's meant to be binged, and they're releasing it episodically.
Yes.
Like the way that it's structured, because I had no problem binging it at all. Like, the next episode just flowed right into the next one, and I was like, one more. Yeah, one more. Yeah, one more. And that was great to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I do think it is very much designed to be binged, and that might be... Yeah, the style of the storytelling, I think, probably benefits from binging more than anything, and that's I guess that's part of the doing the having it be more of a serialized versus episodic, where you kind of have to be following these various plot threads. I did feel like the young Jean-Luc stuff with his mom, while I liked it, it felt like a different show.
It also took too long. Like,
it took too long.
I got it early.
Yeah.
But
I feel like they kind of told us early, and then they told us and then showed us, is almost what it felt like, where they hinted at it real hard and then showed it to us. And I was like, this is... I got here when you told us the first time.
In an episodic show, it would have been done in one episode.
Yeah, and it felt like a one-episode plot that they stretched out in chunks over a few episodes. So, yeah. So that wasn't, again, a good plot, just didn't feel like it was in the right place. But overall, like I said, I give it a B as a series. I think it's really good, and I really enjoy it. It's not like Strange New World so far is A territory for me, and Picard is more of a B.
Yeah, I would maybe place it at if you're just doing the letters without the plus and the negative. I would maybe put it at an A- even, especially for the second season. Like, I'm definitely enjoying it enough to continue. I've been thinking about it post finishing it, and that goes a long way. Strange New Worlds is definitely at the top, and Discovery is beneath the two of them. But I've enjoyed all of them straight through, like, for different facets, maybe except for Discovery Season 1, which is trying to be Game of Thrones with Star Trek. And once they discovered that Star Trek is Star Trek, then it got much better.
Right. Yeah. Discovery started at like a C for me and has worked its way up to a B and then like an A.
Yeah. I think Picard started as a B. Maybe it's a B plus, but like I said, binging it, I think does actually make a difference.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of. I binged a lot of season 1 of Picard. I sort of fell behind at one point and then caught up, and I think I enjoyed it a lot more that way.
Yeah. That one went too long. Like by the time they got to the planet of synths or whatever, I was like,
yeah.
Okay, let's just roll this along just a little bit faster. But
Yep.
But anyway, good stuff. I'm glad that I am. This is weird, but Star Trek has always been like a tertiary fandom for me, right? It's the second tier fandom. It's like
Sure.
mine's like Star Wars and comics, DC Comics, Marvel Comics,
Yep.
Whatever. But and so Star Trek has always sat at the second tier, whereas like I love it, but not enough to know everything. Whereas I got to know everything from the other ones, and
Same.
But I'm like, it's like really starting to creep into like the number one, like the top spot, the S tier, where I'm like, I gotta know stuff. Like,
yeah. I'm feeling the same way. I also would put it at like a second tier below the Star Wars and DC and but it's there's so much good Trek happening right now that I'm like really into it, and like I'm sort of like in between. Like new Trek comes out on Thursdays, and in the week between, I'm like watching original series episodes and stuff, like just because I need to scratch the Star Trek itch. I'm in such a Star Trek mood and have been for a few months now.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, I've been in a pretty consistent Star Trek mood since April. It's now June. And like,
that's unusual for me.
Me too. That's never happened to me, where I've been like in a mood for a few weeks or whatever, even less than that, and like you kind of like watch a movie or whatever, and you kind of move on. But I'm like, oh man, I should like really do that and that, or should I really go back? And I'm like, I'm gonna continue watching Lower Decks, and I'm gonna watch the original series, and I really should watch Next Gen all the way through, and why not try Voyager, or whatever, and Deep Space Nine and whatever. Like so, Enterprise, I guess.
Enterprise,
yeah. It's amazing which shows get really, which are so important, and which ones seem to not be.
Yes.
Yeah, but like I don't know anything about Janeway, and everyone talks about her like she's the best. So like I should watch Deep Space Nine. So,
sure.
Yeah, but anyway, it's been
Voyager.
She's Voyager.
Yeah, she's Voyager.
Who's Captain in Deep Space Nine?
It's oh gosh, his name is.
I didn't use my one lookup yet. Do you want me to use mine?
No, because I know it. I don't want to. His name.
It's the tall guy with brown hair, right?
He's the first. He's
the Enterprise.
He was the first
guy.
black captain in Star Trek.
A black sheriff? Sorry.
Oh gosh, I know his name. Because I was hearing people speculating that he might show up in Picard this season. Sisko, Captain Sisko.
Oh, I do know that name.
Captain Sisko.
Oh, yeah, I looked him up. That's the guy. Oh, yes. Did not love those gray. I don't love that gray with the piping of the color uniform.
Oh, the uniforms?
Thing.
Yeah, don't love the uniforms.
No, I'm so picky about my Star Trek uniforms. It's hilarious. And I'm like, no, that's not good. No, that's not a good one. That's a good one. Strange New Worlds? Great. Top
love
notch.
Them. Yep.
Yeah. Like some Discovery, like the new ones in Discovery. I like those. Don't love the badges.
The new ones in Discovery, yes.
Don't like the badges though, because it's like it's that oval with the cutout. But like, if you're not watching on a 55-inch screen TV with it zoomed in on the logo, I have no idea.
You can't tell.
You can't tell what it is. Yeah.
I love the Voyager badges.
I don't know what those look up.
That's like when I think about the badges, that's what I think of as the Voyager one. So fun.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Those are my favorite, I think. Well, I'm excited. For Strange New Worlds is wrapping up soon. So I'm excited to talk about that with you when that comes to an end, and I look forward to our Star Trek adventures continuing, since we're sort of both experiencing this revival in our fandom.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like
it is.
It's fun not to know stuff too, because like you get used to knowing everything, and
right.
So
I know just enough. I feel like to enjoy things and pick up on some things, and I'm sure there's plenty of things that I'm not picking up on, but I don't feel super left behind by it.
Yeah.
And whatever I'm not getting,
yeah.
I'm picking up on it from other sources, from fans talking about it online, podcasts. Our friend Vactor, who does Technological, I listen to that every week, and always they help fill in some gaps for me. And so, that's always that adds to the experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that we're friends and that we can talk about Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If people want to hear us talk about other things, where can they find us, Frank?
Well, by all means, head on over to beerwithgeeks.com and just peruse the archives. We've got over 400 episodes on every conceivable geeky topic. So, take a look through. Use the search feature and search for whatever topic strikes your fancy. And we've got some episodes on them. But if you like us, if you really like that, you go to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio and throw us a couple bucks. Maybe a couple bucks a month, and help us to keep on geeking out with our beers. And our other shows are over at thoughtbubbleaudio.com, where we have all kinds of geeky and not so geeky podcasts about a variety of topics. And you can contact us at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com, follow us at Beer with Geeks, and rate and review and subscribe anywhere podcasts are found. Particularly ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify are super helpful.
Indeed they are, Frank. Know what's else super helpful? Being your friend.
Aw, I feel the same way.
Wonderful. So, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.